everyone. Welcome to the latest installment of MSP Business School. We are in the process of winding down the year. Not sure if this one will come out in 2022 or early 2023, but either way, it's really we're going to discuss something today that really should be something that you're considering when you say, how can I scale? How do I scale if I don't yet have the available dollars to hire direct resources or don't want to hire direct resources for some of the administrative tasks in our life? So, really what I'm talking about is virtual administrators. But before we jump into this, of course, I want to introduce Rob Rogers and Tim McNeil, because if you haven't seen our other 130 episodes, you might wonder who these two guys are. They're our co-hosts and cohorts in crime and all kinds of other good stuff.
Yeah.
And
you didn't recognize me in my new glasses, Brian.
Rob has hit me 2 days in a row for the listeners out there that we've done things that he wants me to acknowledge these new glasses.
Yeah, he's very proud of these glasses.
I'm very proud of them.
And while he's proud of them, and he looks like a sexy beast, let me tell you.
You know what? It's the glasses.
Here's the reality. He's asking a guy whose family plays a game which is called, let's put something new in the living room. And then they do over-unders on how long it's going to take me to realize it was there. So I'm sorry, Rob, but I wouldn't even notice those glasses.
Just don't expect much.
You turn your hair red, maybe it'll,
okay.
Maybe it'll fire me up. You know what I mean? But you're asking a lot, man.
Fair.
Oh, man.
But again, to kind of kick off where we started. One of the things that I decided to do, and I've done this with other organizations I've run in the past. I've reached out to virtual assistants, and I know many of you have been hearing about virtual assistants out in the marketplace, and you might be confused as to what are the real capabilities of a virtual assistant and what am I getting for this? And, what should I be expecting, right? Because I think sometimes when people go into these relationships, they expect these people just to show up at your doorstep and be able to do everything without any real guidance or training. And of course, that's not the case. So, I've been now working with my latest VA, a new addition to our team, really only for a couple months now. And, after giving about 30 days of ramp up time, getting to know us, we've really clicked on all cylinders, and we have seen just upticks in communication with our clients, upticks in prospecting capabilities, upticks in demos and in sales as a result of just consistent outreach. That sometimes, think about your technology owner-led sales shops. When you start reaching that critical mass where you've got clients now to customer support, sell, duties, not like the first 6 months of your business when you couldn't figure out how to fill your calendar. Now your calendar's full. It can really be difficult to do the blocking and tackling you need to do to make sure that you grow your client base.
Well, Brian, let me jump in there for a second.
Yeah, please do.
One of the things you said there that I kind of want to expand upon was, prospecting. But what does prospecting really mean to you? Because I've heard some good, bad, and ugly for prospecting, overseas. So what do you mean by that?
So first of all, I don't put them in charge of the phone call. It's not where they excel. I've tried that in the past.
Yeah,
the language barrier just doesn't work out. So let's be clear what I mean on prospecting. Now, for those of you that have attended some joint webinars that Rob and I have done, or Rob, Tim, and I have done, and then of course Rob did a speaking engagement out at IT Nation on this. There's many tactics that go into a sales process in order to warm the customer up and improve the chances of getting whatever your call to action is, right? Whether that be an appointment or a demo or a trial, depending on what you're doing. Those are the things that we're trying to warm up to, right? So what I've got, our VA doing is basically going out and prospecting, but doing the email blasts. She does the email blast though, as if it was, in this case, she's doing them on my behalf as the sales rep in the equation too. So it goes out looking as me. And I did get a slightly different URL so we don't taint our primary domain. And she goes out and does a consistent amount each day, usually between 75 and 100. And because she's working for me 8 hours a day, she staggers those two. So she's really doing about 10 to 12 an hour. So it doesn't seem like it's
not
a blast.
You're not,
and that kind of thing. And she's not doing it through a marketing system. She's doing it as me for a reason. So it looks like a one-to-one communication where I'm trying to reach those people. Now, in order for her to be successful at that, what we did was started cultivating lists early before bringing this resource on. So they had something to get started with, but also to get a sense of what the prospect persona looked like. And that's another thing that we did in this process. And I'm going to get more into the process of getting prepared on it. But we made sure she understood what the end user persona was.
Okay, so let me back up just real quick here, Brian, because this is pretty powerful here, and I know a lot of people struggle with this part of it right here. Are you saying that she is crafting emails, or does she have email templates in like the signature box? Like, what is she doing there?
She's got scripting. I use a tool called Sales Handy. We happen to be a Gmail house. Don't ask me why on this side of the fence. Sometimes you lose battles to win wars. And with Gmail, there's a tool called Sales Handy, but there's tons of tools out there that allow you to build templates. So you can track opens, build templates and all that. But don't just build one template. I've got her 2 or 3 variants so she can do some A/B testing as well at each stage of the emailing process. So this eliminates her having to think about how to message, but I task her with at least visiting their website. And if she sees a recent bit of news or something like that, or via LinkedIn, she can at least throw that into the mix as well. And there's a part, in the template where she has been directed and said, look, if you've got something new, put it in paragraph 2, not first kickoff, something like that to kind of, mix it up and make it look more real. So, that's the approach model. So maybe let's step back and talk about how to prepare your VA, right? And then we'll get into the mechanics of getting it done. The group I happen to use looks at their virtual administrators as virtual system architects. What they want to do, and this solves for a common VA problem, by the way, and we'll get more into that. But what they want them to do is document the process. So my job is anything I don't want to do anymore, I need to do it, record, screen capture and record it while I'm doing it, talking about what the steps are, and send them the video. At that point, the virtual systems architect, my VA, uses that video and creates a documentation sheet. Step-by-step guide with screenshots from my video of exactly what needs to be done. Now, in the early phases, she passed it back to me for approval to make sure that, that she was getting the gist. Once we did about 6 or 7 of these, I saw she was getting it. I don't need to proofread these anymore if they're just, general tasks. And the reason they have, the company has them building it that I go through is so if your VA leaves, the next VA can step in with the documentation there. They're not having you have to recreate the wheel to bring that person on and ramp them up. And of course, that requires an investment of your time to do that. So you got to be in a position where you can commit to that time. But as I said, I'm usually recording this on a task I was going to have to do anyway, but I'm saying I don't want to do this anymore. And I'll get into kind of tasks there. And then once you do that, I literally only meet with her face-to-face once a week. We use Microsoft Teams to communicate in between. I like to have a weekly get together because I want to get a pulse on the relationship. Is she happy? How is she feeling? In this case, it's a she. It could be a he, of course. But, how is she feeling? Is she confused on anything? Does she need some additional support? What else can we do? Now, she has the right to call a meeting anytime, but quite frankly, just using Teams has helped us through, the quick hit type issues. So, so once we hit this stride where I was making videos, providing them to her, I do check-ins to see how she's doing on work. I subscribed for 40 hours for this particular resource with the knowledge I wasn't going to use her for 40 hours. But the reason I did 40 hours, and you're going to see a lot of firms go, do you want to do 20 and 20? Having used VAs many times in my past, what I've seen is sometimes they will jump to another company for 50 cents more. That is real money in the Philippines per hour. So, and if they're only getting 20 hours and they're trying to fill the other 20 and somebody comes with a 40-hour commit, they're going to go. Trust me, the cost jump between 20 hours and 40 hours shouldn't be enough that you wouldn't be smart in taking somebody for 40 hours. But that's an opinion on my seat. Now you've got that person locked in, and I'm asking them, am I filling your day? because they have to be there for whatever your day that you dictate to them is going to be. So am I filling your day? And she'll tell me, yep, Mondays and Tuesdays, and we use ClickUp to track all our projects. It's just what we've chosen to use as a project management tool. You can use Asana, you can use the Jiras, you can use the, what's that other board that everybody loves? It'll come to me.
You mean like Miro, that kind of thing?
Yeah, those kind of, the Kanban board tools. Trello.
Yeah.
There's
the name Trello. Yeah.
For, okay. So whatever you use. We just happen to use ClickUp. So she's got tasks for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a category for daily tasks, and then there's category for filler tasks, and I'm going to come back to that. So this way, if she doesn't have work, she can go to that filler tasks. Now, filler tasks doesn't mean busy work. It just means work that doesn't have a time deadline tied to it. When she's producing our podcast, as an example, there's a time limit. We better be out there on Tuesday morning. But if I got her doing segmentation on a marketing list, I don't have a time limit. That's to a benefit to me. Yes, I want to get it done. But if she can't get to it because we have more pending work this week and her schedule is full, I'm not losing sleep over that. But I am making sure that she doesn't have a lot of idle hours, which will bore her. And I'm paying for, right? So that's another part. So really, kicking this off comes down to you. You got to make videos of what you want to do. Again, depending on what your team you select to coordinate with, you may have some upselling, some uploading you have to do. But once they build the process, now you can move them into almost anything you want them doing. And don't worry about their skill sets per se. This particular resource that came to me had everything I wanted from a marketing side, but had never done any video editing. Well, our podcast is a low touch video editing suite. She got Premiere Pro. The group I work with has Coursera courses. She was able to take some Premiere Pro lessons up front. And now within 2 weeks, she was editing our podcast the way we need it to be edited very easily, very quickly without any hand holding. So again, that brings me to the other part. If the group you're working with doesn't have training, find the training, even if it's just YouTube videos showing you how to do it, and make it part of their day so they don't have to search for it and you know what their content's going to be.
Okay.
So is there anything, since we oddly enough use the same company as far as a VA resource, and we are one of the ones that we didn't do the 40 hours, we did the 20 hours, and we have experienced somebody that already moved on. But the good thing about that is the documentation from the first person is still there, right? So if you are going the VA route, make sure that you're with a company that does that. But have you experienced anything yet that your VA has not been able to accomplish for you?
I haven't run into anything that they weren't, or that she wasn't able to accomplish with some training. There have been some advanced concepts that I've realized she's not ready for yet. Yeah. So a perfect example of this is we do have some administration, I have a back-end dashboard to the BCIO toolbox system that allows me to see metrics and things like that allow me to understand adoption rates within our community and who's signing in, who's signing out, customer origination, customer termination, meaning end of trial, no go, cleanup, that I definitely want to put in her direction. But I've seen that right now she's absorbing a few different things that I've got to hold on that a little bit. So what I'm really trying to do is compartmentalize tasks. When I started, it was really focused on email blast, certain things in that tool. Then we moved into, we use ActiveCampaign for marketing automation. So then I started training her in ActiveCampaign. Once we got ActiveCampaign squared away, we went to LinkedIn and we started using, LinkedIn strategies. Okay. The next thing will now be getting her more familiar with our application. And part of the reason I did it in that process is, one, just by virtue of reading the marketing materials and doing all that, she started getting a sense of what we were doing as a company. She got a sense of who our end users were too, through coming into LinkedIn later and now building the Listen Sales Navigator off our model for different regions, that she gets an understanding of the customer. So now when I bring her into the tool, unlike day one, where she would have never been in the technology world and would have had no idea what we were even trying to accomplish here, she now understands how we relate with our customer base and prospect base. And now the system is becoming more native to her, so it's not going to be as hard. So you got to look at the things you want to assign to them, in my humble opinion, and be strategic on how you roll them out. And know you're not going to get your full money's worth up front. But you got to be realistic, just like you would any onboarding with a customer. You can't throw the fire hose at them on day one or they're going to fail.
All right, so Brian, let's back up for a second. So we have a bunch of MSPs listening to this show right now.
Yep.
And most of the MSP are principal led, right? They may or may not have some type of marketing asset or person or salesperson, but the MSP owner is the one who has cultivated all these relationships over time. What is your recommendation for an MSP owner utilizing a VA to help them with prospecting? What is step one? I mean, like after you've gone through videos and all that, what is the first thing that you want your MSP owners to do, and then second and third?
So step one is warming up the lead, right? We all know that that's part of the process, and building brand and awareness, right? So step one is, if I was the owner starting off, and this is exactly what I did. Doesn't matter if you're doing software like I do or you're an MSP, because I did this in my MSP timeframe too. You write out your scripts and make sure you've got a 6-script, methodology, because that's going to help her for a month.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Initial outreach, day 1. Then maybe on day 5, whatever your sequence might be, but on day 5, she might do another follow-up email to
Got it. Okay, so basically,
and I do it in 6, kind of stretching it out a little bit, because I look at it as, for us, it's strictly awareness. I want them to get used to seeing my name. Right. If they get used to seeing my name, it's the first step in know, like, and trust. Right. Then when she gets, so that's kind of step 1, but you got to build those scripts. You can't expect them to build those scripts. If you do that, they're going to go online. They're going to go to show me cold calling scripts. They're going to pick the HubSpot script that everybody in the world is doing, because they're the first thing that comes on top when it says, give me an onboarding or a cold calling sequence. And then they're going to utilize that. You've got to script it in a way there. So that leans to the owner. If you can't get your scripting done, don't get the VA. And you're going to hear me say that a lot. If you're not doing the tasks you're ready to, don't hire the VA, because you're just going to throw money out the window.
Got it.
But once you get your scripts, then build those out. Ideally, if you can have an A/B test on all 6 of those scripts that we happen to have in our sequence, it's going to give them ability to use a tool like Sales Handy. Will show you what the templates are and what the open rates were there, so you can start optimizing this process too. No sense in them sending out 100 emails if they're not going to get a response, or if they're not going to get opened. And really, I'm looking even more than opens. I'm looking for clicks, because as we know, a lot of the spam filters will open right away and you get those false reads on it. So I'm looking more for clicks to some sort of artifact. So in each email, you should have a call to action. Now, what I want to be very clear here, though, I'm not expecting appointments out of this. I'm really not. This is a branding exercise. This is a familiarity exercise, and it's passing some information. Step 2, once I get them through the emailing, was then moving them into the LinkedIn phase when it came to prospecting. So with LinkedIn, I'm a Sales Navigator user. I use Octopus, which you can buy the big brother of Octopus, which is Typify. And basically, I have her reaching out to the allotted leads per week that we're able to do.
Sure. So before you move on, just for everybody to understand, Octopus and Typify are AI, one-to-many type of coordinated campaigns that utilize the Sales Navigator lists, right, Brian?
Yep.
Okay.
And they just both happen to be owned by the same company now, so that's why I was distinguishing there. But they do that. Just real
quick, there is another company out there called Kennected that starts with a K. I've actually heard some really good things about that as well. It also gives you the ability to you can actually schedule social media posts on top of it.
So watch this. We're going to have a VA moment right here live in this podcast. Allie, when you're editing this podcast today, please get the URLs of those softwares that we just spoke of and put them in our show notes. So, all kidding aside, though, that's part of her responsibility. But, again, where you guys are going here, now I'm doing the intermittent LinkedIn. Now, the other thing I have her do on a daily basis with LinkedIn, besides making some connections, and she's very, most of the time you can do about 100 connections, right, per week with the new restrictions. So she'll do a Sales Navigator list, really, and then, she'll outreach that list, but she leaves me 10 spots every week. So she only goes out to 90. Because I don't want
Okay.
to go. I don't want to go to a show and meet somebody and not be able to link in with them.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that kind of thing. So
makes
you got to
sense.
leave yourself a little bit of headroom for your direct connections.
Makes sense.
Then the next thing I have her do is on the daily go out and like 10 or 15, things in my news feed. But that's where it stops. Don't ask them to be your commenters. They can't be you. They can't be authentic. They can't be original in that process. They just don't have, they're not you. So, I'll have her like, so there's some people at least kind of seeing the face and the name, especially people that don't get a lot of likes. They go and check, hey, who liked me today, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I make sure that I'm the one that goes out and comments live. So, I set aside
Makes
a couple
sense.
hours a week just to go through my LinkedIn feeds and comment where appropriate and, stay engaged with people and make sure that I'm doing it. But I don't have time to make it a heavy list. That couple hours usually comes, Monday night and Thursday night while I'm watching football.
Okay. So number
Fair.
1 is the email. Number 2 is LinkedIn. Is there any other like top threes, or is that pretty much what you do with those
So
two?
right now, honestly, I've got her doing just the email and LinkedIn, building brand and awareness, driving to things. And then I've got her running my marketing campaign. So when we put on a webinar or we do our weekly coaching, she's also responsible for those campaigns. But that's more of a mechanical, hey, just making sure those messages get out kind of thing. But from a pure prospecting, it's just the emailing and that. Then if somebody shows some interest, she's gathering a list and saying, look, this person has clicked on a link for the last, in all 6 of the emails. And then I will outreach, or somebody from my team who speaks more English will then, go and outreach. Sure. Not that they're not good, they're great communicators. It's just, you can tell when you're getting called.
Yeah, it's just off a little bit. I mean,
US.
Yeah.
So, she's kind of even funneling in for me my active leads, the ones that are engaging, the ones that, if somebody was on her email list and she sees that they connected with me on LinkedIn or followed me on LinkedIn, she's letting me know that resource that she's been emailing now connected me on LinkedIn, because obviously there's a chance that this person's interested. And then I usually go on LinkedIn and just say, hey, thanks for connecting with me. I love seeing people from the industry join. Let me know if I can ever help you. That's my approach model, instead of, hey, want a demo or anything like that. I'm just, let me know if you want to help you. And most people at that stage, because they elected to come to you, are like, yeah, I'd love to have a conversation or whatever, right? And schedule your 15 minutes, get to know you session.
Yep.
So, what I've really seen is it's put a consistency where I couldn't put consistency. When we first launched VCIO Toolbox, obviously I had more cycles available to me. So I was religious about doing LinkedIn outreach. I was religious about reaching out and doing email blasts to lists that we cultivated and curated. Then we got to, what I call the messy middle, right? We got past the point of initial growth, and we got customers and daily customers requiring, some care and feeding or having questions. And then of course, demos and onboarding started becoming a bigger part of the equation. And what got sacrificed, just like any owner-led MSP, what got sacrificed was prospecting, right? So I'm just trying to put the front of the tail on it, or is that even a saying? But really just trying to
I don't know, but it sounded really good, Brian.
I
don't know what that meant, but it really flowed.
They're the front end and I'm the tail, right? Hopefully I'm coming behind, right?
I don't know, but you sold it, my friend. You sold it.
Well, I'll sell anything, baby. But I've seen great success, and we just touched upon really the prospecting, because let's face it, it's a sales and marketing show. But basic video editing. She uses Adobe Express because we happen to have the Adobe suite to build out some of our social images and our webinar and email images. So all these little things just kind of add up over time. And the real key is to success is having a line of communication, making them know that they've got access to you because they need to. Think of them like an executive assistant as opposed to a virtual assistant. Empower them. And then the third thing is share your schedule. A lot of guys don't like to share. They just want to know when you're busy, because they're, she's, in my case, she's a very polite person. If she sees I have a meeting, she won't even go. She'll hold her Teams until the hour block is over, just so even her message doesn't interrupt a video session, as an example. And it sounds silly, but it's great to know she's in tune with what you're doing and has respect for what you're doing too, right?
Hey, so Brian, what was her name again? Just asking for a friend.
Her name is Josephine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a question, just a random
Rob only
question.
has to rewind back to 15. And, I know we're going a little bit long here, but I will also throw one other thing you should think about just quickly as we wrap up here. Think about the hours. Somehow in the VA world, it became very customary that, and the selling point from the VA firm to you was she will or he will work your hours. They're 12 hours behind, they'll work 8 to 5. Well, that's great, but that means it's 8 at night till 5 in the morning for them, right? And just think yourself, while you can do it, how physically demanding is it to work the night shift, if you will, and then convert back to a day shift for the weekend? So once I got my resource, established, I really realized that because we were communicating through Teams and and we did a good job of process and dictating her schedule, and we only meet weekly, I didn't need her for the full 8 hours I'm working. So I made it so she could work 4 hours before I come to work and 4 hours while I'm at work, which now puts her on a 4 to midnight schedule. She gets to have a life, and that's how you're going to get retention as well. She loves the fact that she's working without having to try to force herself to stay up. And those things matter. We're all human beings. A VA is got a family, has challenges just like we all do, right? And if you can respect those challenges, those boundaries, and try to make them a little bit easier, unless you've got something that you really have to be on top of them all day, I'd say, look at the hours and make an adjustment so you have some live face time, but you give them a life.
Well, I think that's probably the most important part the most important point that you made. Got there eventually. I know of at least 2 other people that they did that exact same thing. At the end of the day, there's a lot of tasks that can be done outside of business hours, right? Like, it doesn't really matter necessarily when she's liking something on LinkedIn, for instance. Doesn't necessarily matter when those emails go out specifically. I mean, you can time them and do all that, but that stuff can be set up on your non-time zone hours, and that just shouldn't matter one way or the other. As long as it's getting done, that's the important part.
Honestly, there is very little that needs real time. The pure reason for our overlap of hours is so she can ask me the questions she needs support on at a time that I can answer to them, and for when we do have live meetings. I enjoy that part of it, and I think, she'll be editing this, so she'll let me know afterward. But, I hope that she's enjoying that because, I do respect that people do have family. We all work as a means to an end, right? We come to work for our families for the most part and the things that we want to do. And I want to make sure that whoever's working for me has the opportunity to live that life as well.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right, so fellas, that kind of wraps it up for us today. So, just to recap real quick, for all you business owners, your MSP business owners out there that are in the principal led, if you're going to look for a VA to kind of support you in your prospecting model out there, kind of start them with the email blasting campaigns. You can't give them the task of building it themselves as far as the content. You have to build your own content. And then after that, then move into LinkedIn. Hopefully we can all try and figure out who Brian is using and maybe find a way to, get her over into one of our companies because she sounds fantastic.
I think the bigger thing is if you guys want to know what company we're using, reach out either to, any one of the 3 of us because we are using the same company.
I do like those guys.
Happy to make a referral because they've also shown incredible support on the back end.
I do. I agree with that, Brian.
And that is a big difference, to wrap this up. You can get one off of Upwork, you can get one off of Fiverr, but those are usually independent people working on their own. They don't have any guardrails around their operation as well, so they disappear quickly. We have that same challenge sometimes with overseas developers. But this group has management layers to them and stays engaged with the VA. So if there's not a personality mix between me and them, they can make changes appropriate for both sides as well.
Yeah, I like them a lot as well.
So we'd be happy to share that information. Just reach out to any one of us and, we'll make the introduction for you.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
This episode, fellas, will be up on mspbusinessschool.com or anywhere that you get your podcast, to include YouTube. So please like and subscribe there if you can. And with that, fellas, I wish you guys all the best, and we will talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.